The low hum of fluorescent lights buzzed above, casting a sickly glow over the gray-walled office. Stacks of blueprints, scattered notes, and a half-empty coffee cup sat atop Arthur's cluttered desk, remnants of a lifetime dedicated to invention. His fingers, rough from decades of drafting and fine-tuning machinery, trembled slightly as he adjusted his glasses. The world outside the floor-to-ceiling window moved in fast-forward. Young executives hurrying between meetings, interns clutching coffee trays, all oblivious to the man who had laid the foundation for the very technology they now took for granted. Arthur sighed, tracing the edge of an old photograph tucked beneath a stack of patent files. It showed him as a much younger man, standing beside the first machine he had designed for this company. Back then, the air had been thick with the scent of fresh ink and warm metal, the sounds of innovation humming all around him. Now it was all sterile efficiency, corporate smiles, soulless boardrooms, and policies that reduced people like him to numbers on a spreadsheet. A sharp knock at the door broke his thoughts. Before he could answer, the door swung open with a force that sent a few papers fluttering to the floor. The scent of expensive perfume hit him first, overly sweet, overpowering. Then came the sound of clicking heels, each step deliberate, slicing through the silence like a blade. Karen. She strutted in, radiating the unshakable confidence of someone who had never heard the word no. Her designer suit was tailored to perfection, her blonde hair sculpted into a severe bob that framed a face devoid of warmth. She moved with an air of entitlement, scanning Arthur's workspace as if she were inspecting a forgotten relic in a museum. Arthur adjusted his glasses, slowly rising from his chair. "Karen," he greeted, forcing civility into his tone. "What can I do for you?" Karen barely glanced at him before rolling her eyes. "Oh, Arthur, let's not pretend. You know why I'm here." His grip tightened around the edge of the desk. "Enlighten me." A smirk curled at the corner of her lips. "You're done here." The words hung in the air, sharp and absolute. Arthur felt a weight settle in his chest, but he kept his expression neutral. "Excuse me?" Karen exhaled dramatically as if she were explaining simple math to a child. "You've had a good run. 40 years, right? That's cute. But let's be honest, you're old, slow, and frankly outdated." She tapped her perfectly manicured nails against the desk. "I'm making some necessary improvements to this company, and well, you just don't fit the vision anymore." Arthur forced a breath through his nose, keeping his voice even. "Karen, I've designed half the technology this company is built on. The security systems, the automation software, even the new AI project." Karen waved a dismissive hand. Yes, we all appreciate your contributions. But you see, this isn't about history. It's about progress. And progress means trimming the fat." The callousness of it struck deeper than he had anticipated. He had given his life to this company, late nights in the lab, weekends sacrificed, holidays spent troubleshooting software failures. It had been his passion, his legacy. And now, he was being discarded like an outdated operating system. Arthur squared his shoulders. "I assume there's a severance package." Karen's smirk widened. "Of course. 3 months' pay. Generous, considering your—" She made a vague motion toward his cane situation. A slow chill crept up Arthur's spine. His cane. The subtle dig at his disability didn't go unnoticed. A car accident years ago had left him with a limp, but it had never slowed him down. It had never defined him. But Karen saw it as weakness. He steadied his voice. "And my patents?" Karen's eyes flickered with amusement. "Oh, Arthur. Did no one ever explain the fine print to you?" She reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a sleek folder, sliding it across the desk. "Standard contract. Everything you created during your time here belongs to the company. That means all your patents, your research, even the ones you're still working on." Arthur's breath hitched. He opened the folder, scanning the legal jargon. His name was there, listed on document after document, but not as the owner. As the inventor, yes, but not the owner. His life's work, every idea he had nurtured from concept to reality, had been absorbed into the company like he had never existed. Karen tilted her head, feigning sympathy. "I can see you're upset. But honestly, what did you expect? You're old news, Arthur. And in case you were thinking of fighting this," she leaned in slightly, voice dropping to a condescending whisper, "I'd reconsider. A man like you? Against a corporate legal team? You wouldn't last a month." Arthur's fingers trembled as he closed the folder. Not with fear, but with something far more dangerous. Cold, burning fury. Karen gave a satisfied nod and turned toward the door. "Security will escort you out. Best of luck with retirement, Grandpa." As she strutted away, 2 uniformed security guards appeared in the hallway, their expressions unreadable but firm. They were just doing their job. But Arthur, he wasn't ready to go quietly. His gaze flicked back to his desk, to the blueprints, the decades of work reduced to a technicality. Karen thought she had won. She thought she had erased him. But she had made a mistake. A huge mistake. Arthur stood slowly, gripping his cane. His mind, once fogged with shock, was now sharp as steel. As the guards moved toward him, he allowed himself one final glance at the office. The empire he had built, the kingdom now ruled by a queen too blinded by greed to see the storm she had just unleashed. Without another word, he let them lead him out. For now. The apartment was quiet except for the rhythmic ticking of an old clock mounted on the wall. The soft glow of a desk lamp cast long shadows across Arthur's workspace, illuminating stacks of patent files, old notebooks filled with sketches, and a half-empty glass of whiskey. He sat in his worn-out chair, staring at a blank notepad, his mind a battlefield between anger and despair. He had always known corporate loyalty was a one-way street, but after 40 years he had foolishly believed he was an exception. That his work, his dedication meant something. Karen had made sure to crush that illusion under the sharp point of her designer heels. His patents. His ideas. Everything he had ever built was now locked away under a company name that no longer had a single trace of him left. Arthur exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. He had spent the entire day cycling through every legal document he had ever signed, hoping to find something, anything that could undo the damage. But every line of fine print confirmed the same brutal reality. He had been careless. He had trusted. And now he had nothing. His fingers tightened around the edge of the desk. No, that wasn't true. He had his mind. He had experience. And most importantly, he had time. A notification chimed from his laptop, breaking the silence. He opened his email, expecting another automated rejection from some lawyer unwilling to take his case. Instead, he found a name that made his pulse quicken. Michael Travers. Arthur hadn't spoken to him in years. A once feared corporate attorney, Michael had walked away from the high-powered legal world after a particularly brutal case left him disgusted with the industry. He now lived comfortably on the outskirts of town, only taking on cases when he had a personal vendetta against the people involved. Arthur clicked the email. Heard what happened. Let's talk. Bring everything. An address followed. Arthur didn't waste time. The drive was quiet, the city lights giving way to winding roads and sprawling estates. Michael's house was modest compared to the high-rise offices he had once commanded, but the sharp intelligence in his eyes as he opened the door hadn't dulled one bit. Arthur, Michael said, stepping aside. I wish I could say I was surprised. Arthur walked in, placing the thick folder of documents on the dining table. I was stupid. Michael picked up the folder, flipping through it with the speed of someone who had spent a lifetime dismantling contracts. No, he muttered. You were trusting. There's a difference. Arthur lowered himself into a chair, watching as Michael's eyes scanned page after page. Minutes passed in silence. Then Michael's lips pressed into a thin line. She was thorough, he admitted. These clauses are ironclad. Even if we challenge it in court, we'd be looking at years of legal battles and a bottomless pit of corporate lawyers ready to bury us. Arthur's jaw tightened. He had expected as much. Michael kept reading. Then, just as Arthur was about to reach for his whiskey flask, the lawyer's fingers stopped on a page near the bottom. His eyes narrowed. Arthur leaned forward. What? Michael didn't answer immediately. He pulled out his phone, checking something, then turned the page back and forth, a slow grin creeping onto his face. Well, he murmured. Looks like Karen made a mistake. Arthur's heart skipped. Talk to me. Michael tapped the paper. She took everything, right? Almost everything. But this patent here, your first major one, the automated security system blueprint. Arthur nodded. What about it? Michael leaned back, arms crossed. This patent was filed before you signed that contract locking you into company ownership of intellectual property. And the contract doesn't retroactively claim old patents, just ones made after you signed. Arthur's breath caught. He snatched the paper from Michael's hands, scanning it. Michael grinned. That means it's still yours. The realization hit like a thunderclap. That one patent. The same security system blueprint that Karen's company had been refining for years, the one integrated into their latest product line, the one they were preparing to launch internationally. If Arthur still owned the core patent. He looked up at Michael, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across his face. They can't sell their product without violating my rights. Michael nodded. Exactly. And if we file an injunction, That means they can't move forward with production until this is settled. Arthur exhaled, the weight of despair lifting slightly. They'll try to fight it. Oh, absolutely, Michael said, pouring himself a drink. But here's the thing, they're already too deep. Investors, manufacturers, retailers, they all expect this product to launch in a matter of months. If you pull the brakes now, it'll send the company into chaos. Arthur thought of Karen's smug face, her condescending voice, the way she had thrown him away without a second thought. He smiled. Good. Michael raised his glass. There's more. We're not just going to stop them. We're going to make sure when the dust settles, you come out on top. Arthur picked up his own glass, the fire inside him burning brighter than it had in years. Karen thought she had won. She had no idea the game was just beginning. The news broke like a thunderclap. Early that morning, an urgent internal memo had circulated through the company, its subject line a flashing red siren. Legal hold, all operations paused immediately. Karen read it once, then twice. The words blurred together, disbelief tightening in her throat. She stabbed at the intercom. Gina now. Seconds later, her assistant scurried in, heels clicking frantically. Miss Caldwell, the legal team is already in a meeting. There. Get them on the damn phone, Karen snapped, pushing away from her desk. Gina nodded quickly and rushed out. Karen exhaled sharply, tapping her nails against the desk. This was supposed to be a flawless launch. The biggest in the company's history. Investors had poured millions into marketing and development. Their entire global expansion hinged on this security system rollout. And now, paused, Her screen blinked with a new email from the legal department. She opened it with a flick of her wrist. Urgent, patent violation and immediate injunction filed by Arthur Langley. Karen felt something cold coil in her stomach. Arthur. Her teeth clenched. The old man should have been finished, she had stripped him of everything. His position, his patents, his legacy. Yet here he was, clawing his way back, threatening to bring her company to its knees. A deep rage bubbled up inside her. The conference call connected. A cluster of anxious voices filled her speaker. Karen, we have a problem, one of the attorneys began. No kidding, she snapped. Fix it. Pause. Then a hesitant voice. It's not that simple. Karen's fingers curled into fists. Arthur owns the original security system patent, another lawyer explained. It predates his contract, meaning? Meaning he still has the rights, Karen finished through gritted teeth. Exactly. And since our current system is built on that foundation, he's filed an injunction. If the court grants it, we'll be legally barred from selling any units until this is resolved. Karen inhaled sharply. How long? If we fight it? Months. Maybe longer. And that's assuming we win. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Months? They didn't have months. The board, the investors, the media, everyone expected a seamless launch. If they delayed now, the company's stock would tank, their reputation would be in shambles, and she'd be the one answering for it. She forced herself to breathe. What does he want? Silence. Then finally the legal team's lead attorney spoke. He wants to renegotiate. Karen's jaw tightened. Of course. The old man wasn't just trying to ruin her, he was forcing his way back in. Her grip on the phone was white-knuckled. Set up a meeting. The tension in the boardroom was suffocating. Karen sat at the head of the table, flanked by her legal team. Across from her, Arthur Langley leaned back in his chair, calm. Too calm. He had arrived with no briefcase, no notes, just that damn cane resting against the table's edge. Karen forced a tight-lipped smile. Arthur. You've been busy. Arthur returned the smile, though his held something hers didn't. Satisfaction. I had time on my hands, he said evenly. Karen's fingers drummed against the table. Let's cut to it. What do you want? Arthur tilted his head slightly. Recognition. Karen scoffed. Be specific. He exhaled, tapping a finger against the polished wood. I want my name reinstated as the original creator of the security system. Publicly. I want a licensing fee for every unit sold, past and future. And I want full patent rights over any future modifications. Karen's nails dug into her palm. You're delusional. Arthur simply shrugged. You're out of time, Karen. The moment this injunction goes public, your investors will start asking questions. The stock will drop. You can fight me, sure, but in the meantime your launch collapses and you take the fall for it. The legal team exchanged wary glances. They all knew the truth, he had her cornered, Karen's jaw tightened. You work for me, Arthur. That's how this company functions. You don't make demands. You take orders. Arthur chuckled, shaking his head. Not anymore. Something about the finality of it, the way he said it like a closing chapter, made Karen's stomach twist. Her attorney leaned over, whispering urgently in her ear. If we fight, we lose time. Investors panic. He knows it, we might not have a choice. Karen's blood boiled. This was her company. Her future. And yet, because of one old man, she was about to be forced into submission. Arthur watched her, patient. Waiting. Karen swallowed her pride like broken glass. Fine, she spat. You get your deal. Arthur's lips twitched. Pleasure doing business with you, he said. The boardroom doors swung open and Karen stormed out, her heels clicking against the marble floors like gunfire. Her pulse pounded in her temples, her carefully constructed world shaking beneath her grip. This was impossible. She had spent years carving her way to the top, eliminating obstacles, owning every room she walked into. Yet somehow that old man had won. Arthur followed at a measured pace, his cane tapping lightly against the floor, his movements unhurried, controlled. He had no reason to rush. Victory had a way of making a man walk taller, even if his body was worn by time. Karen whirled on him the moment they were alone. You think you're clever, don't you? She hissed. Arthur gave her a calm, almost amused look. I don't have to think, Karen. I know. Her fists clenched at her sides. You had no right. Asterisk asterisk no right? Asterisk asterisk. Arthur's voice cut through the hallway, sharper than she had ever heard it. He took a step forward, his presence suddenly suffocating. I built this company before you even knew how to spell merger. Every system, every blueprint, every advancement that's made your career possible, you've been standing on my shoulders since the day you walked in here. Karen's breath hitched, but she didn't back down. That's business, Arthur. You signed the contracts. You gave it away. Arthur's eyes darkened. No, Karen. I trusted the wrong person. He exhaled, his voice turning eerily calm. And I paid for it. Karen's lips curled into a sneer. So what now? You get a cut of my company? You think that makes you the winner? Arthur chuckled. Oh, Karen, you still don't get it, do you? A flicker of unease passed over her features. Arthur leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough to make her feel the weight of every word. I didn't just want a cut, he said. I wanted to own you. And now I do. Karen's heart slammed against her ribs. The moment that deal was signed, Arthur continued, you lost your freedom. Every new development in security systems? You pay me. Every update? You pay me. You don't make a single move without my name coming up in a board meeting first. He smiled, slow and deliberate. I'm not your employee anymore, Karen. I'm your landlord. Karen's breath came faster now, panic creeping in beneath her fury. Arthur straightened, adjusting his cuff. Oh, and just so we're clear, asterisk asterisk I asterisk asterisk set the licensing fee. You didn't ask how much. Karen's stomach churned. Arthur tapped his cane once against the floor, savoring the moment. It's a lot. The weight of those words crushed down on her. The company's financials were already stretched thin from the global launch. Investors were expecting massive profits, not payouts to an old man they thought was gone. Karen realized too late that Arthur hadn't just saved himself. He had positioned himself as the company's biggest liability. Her eyes darted to the glass wall overlooking the city. The skyline stretched before her, once a symbol of her empire, now a view of the trap she had walked into. Arthur followed her gaze and let out a soft chuckle. You know, I used to love this view. Back when this company still meant something. He turned back to her, his expression unreadable. Now, it's just a reminder. Karen swallowed, but her throat was dry. Of what? She whispered. Arthur's smile didn't reach his eyes. That greed always eats itself alive. He turned, walking away at his own pace, his cane tapping in time with her shallow breaths. Karen stood frozen, realization washing over her in cold, suffocating waves. She hadn't fired Arthur Langley. She had handed him the keys to her kingdom.